Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sister. This is the translation of the message that she sent to me. The translation reads like this. Hello, Brother Nash, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So I am a daughter of a man who is very wealthy. We are staying here in Harare. So I still remember the time when my dad really made it big. I think at that time I was somewhere around 12 years old, and I was coming from this other place where we used to go and do some extra lessons. That was when I saw my father. I saw my dad. It was at this other house. So at that house, the people, they had left for the UK, and there was no one who was looking after their house because of some things that were happening. This was after their mother had passed away. So there were some people who were saying that the mom, she used to be a witch, and her spirit was always roaming around at her house. So that was why they had just left Zim and went to the UK and never even bothered about that property. So this house, it has since been repossessed by the city council because those kids, they never returned back to Zim again. I remember that I saw my father. He was walking around that house. I stopped a little bit, and then that was when he rushed into that house when he saw me. I then went back home. Later on in the evening, my dad came and he was holding this other pork pie that he gave to me. And I knew that it was a way of him bribing me so that I won't tell my mom everything that I had seen him doing. Since I was still a child, I just accepted that bribe and life continued. My dad then got into the habit of giving me money and also taking me to places that were quite scary. My dad even took me to a grave one time when he was performing a ritual. On the outside, my family appears perfect. We live in a large house, drive expensive cars, and my father is known as a generous man. My father is always donating large sums of money to the church that we go to. It is a Pentecostal church. And as for my dad, people, they do respect him because they think that he's a good man and they do admire our family. But what no one knows is that there are some dark secrets that he hides within our home. So inside our ceiling, there is a human skull that I saw with my own eyes. This is no longer a secret. My mom knows, my siblings, they know, and each and every time when this ritual is being performed, we all have to be there at home. And my brother, he even lies to his own wife that he is going for a business seminar or a business meeting, yet he'll come back to the family home. So he usually brings with him one of his son who was named after our father. So I think that he is the one who is going to be given whatever that thing that stays in the ceiling, if it is a tokolosh or what, after my father would have passed away. So I have never spoken a word of it to anyone. It started, like I told you, at that time when I was around 12 years old, when I got so used to my father. Then one evening, I was lying in bed, and whilst I was laying in bed, that was when I heard strange noises that was coming from the ceiling above my room. So I crept out quietly, and when I reached the living room, that was when I saw my father bringing a man into the house. This was a witch doctor. They were carrying a goat and they were whispering as if they did not want to wake up anyone. I was terrified, but I kept on looking. I watched as the witch doctor slaughtered the goat, Brother Nashi, right in front of our house. They had this very big metallic dish. That god, I don't know what kind of charms they had given to that god, because it was not violent, it did not do anything. Then they collected the blood in a dish. Then I saw something that chilled me to the bone. My father then handed that witch doctor a plate that was full of blood, and then the witch doctor climbed holding that plate of blood into the ceiling. I did not know what to think. I was too young to understand, and I did not understand what was happening, but I knew that something was terribly wrong. So those rituals, they kept on happening until that time, like I told you, that my dad then took me to this other graveyard. So at that grave, I think that is where they got that human skull that stays in our ceiling. Because my dad then told me that he wanted to go out with me. I was more than happy because I knew that each and every time that I would go with my dad, he was going to give me some money to spoil me. So I was more than excited. We then went out and we went to Mbudzi Cemetery. Whilst we were there, my dad waited for a little while. When he saw that it was dark, that was when there was this other man who came, who approached our car, and then the man got into the car and we drove into the cemetery. We drove, Brother Nash, for a couple of minutes as if he was looking for a specific grave. I was so scared at that time because I am someone who is always afraid of being around graves and stuff like that. He drove and he drove, and finally he stopped his car, and then he got out of the car and he looked and he nodded his head, and that man followed him. When that man followed him, that was when my dad returned back to the car. So all along at the back seat, there was this other small school bag that was there. I did not even know what was inside that school bag. He took it and then he opened it. That was when I saw a skull. It was a human skull, Brother Nashi, and he then took that skull and he went and placed it on top of that grave. They did whatever the rituals that they were doing. After that, he returned back with that skull. I was so scared, but he told me not to worry. He then gave me like a herb that I was supposed to chew. And when I was chewing it, it was more like a bubble gum, but it was a root of a tree. I don't know what kind of a tree is that. Then when I was chewing, that was when I felt like I was okay. But now as I got older, I also started learning more about my family's history. Like we have never in our lives ever attended any funeral at all. Like on our father's side, we only go and attend the funerals from our mother's side. So I then traced the history of the family, and I then found out that my father's brothers, all of them, they died under mysterious circumstances, each one of them losing their mind just before they passed away. They were found wandering the streets talking to themselves and eventually died like dogs alone. People in the village used to say that madness runs in the family. But I now know the truth. It is not just madness. There is something else. My father's wealth is tied to everything that was happening to his brothers, and the prize has been the lives of his brothers. What disturbs me the most is that my father is a major donor at our church. Every Sunday, he stands up proudly and hands over donations. And I want to warn all other pastors out there not to just accept money. My dad showed me when I was around 15, I think, each and every time when he give a large donation at church, he always take this other wooden plate and he leaves it inside the ceiling. Then early Sunday morning, then he would go and fetch that plate that will be full of money. That will be the money that he would hand over to the church as a donation. All this from dark rituals. The pastors, they praise him in front of the entire congregation, saying how we are blessed as a family. And sometimes it makes me sick to my stomach to even see my father, as he will be busy preaching, knowing that my father, he gets his money from blood money making rituals, and it has caused death in his own family. A man who did not attend the funeral of his entire family. All his siblings, they all passed away. My father is the last one who is remaining in the family. Yet, as the eldest one in the family, he never even attended a single funeral. I have thought about confronting him about why he does it, but I am afraid of what he might do to me, afraid of the consequences of knowing too much. There are times when I lie awake at night because now it is affecting me. The moment that I start to date Brother Nashi, I end up hating the man that will be in love with me. I don't even know why. I don't know how long this can go. The rituals, the blood, the skulls, it haunts me each and every day. I feel like I am trapped in a web of lies and evil, unable to break free. All I want is to live a life that is not tainted by darkness. I don't know how to escape. Dear listeners, Revi was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. That was the translation of the message that she sent to me. Please let us try to assist her in the comment section. And to you, our dear sister, I do understand how frightening it is to know that this is what is happening in your home. And you told me that your home, you're at your place, and you told me that at the place where you stay with your parents, it is like a very big house. Sometimes it makes you to be so afraid. I know that you are in a difficult situation, but you know that there is always hope, and there are steps that you can take to find at least freedom from this burden that you are carrying. At least if you could try to find another church, because at the church where you are going right now, if they are accepting that donation from your father, it is not a real church. You need to try to find another church and speak with the pastor about this, even if you do not want people that know you to know that this is what happens at your home. You try to speak with the pastor so that he can protect your identity and your privacy. And also, I think that you need to consider leaving that environment where you are staying with your parents. If you can, try to start afresh. And when you are somewhere else, then try to ask for spiritual protection. Surround yourself with prayer, and try to pray also for your siblings so that your eyes can be opened up, because I believe that in the family you are the one that has her eyes opened up. So you need to be in a place where you are protected spiritually. And then you pray for your mother, for your siblings, even to pray for your father so that God can forgive him, so that he can walk away from these rituals and to repent before he dies. Let us try to speak with her also in the comment section.